all of you out there, somewhere in the world, I'm sure many of you are watching with great curiosity, as we here in the studio are also watching and wondering as well with great curiosity about a virtual internet convention. At first, the thought of canceling convention felt horrible to all of us. But then I started thinking about Gary and what his reaction would be and found myself laughing. Gary never looked back. When he faced a new challenge, he took it on with gusto and began looking at how he could make something even better out of the new circumstances. When Jacob and Joseph heard that convention had been canceled, the first thing was, "Oh no, our friends, we won't get to see them." Jacob began moaning that he would not be able to joust in front of the cheering crowd. And after that came the complaints about missing all the fun and not being able to see all of you, our members. Yes, those are the facts with real feelings, but they are out of our control. But then I started visualizing how much simpler my life was going to be and the new experiences we would have. I wouldn't have to pack a suitcase, actually multiple suitcases, and stay in a hotel for a week and eat hotel food. I wouldn't have to fly in a helicopter back and forth to the farm and feel my heart jump when the turbulence rocked us as we flew close to the mountainside. I wouldn't have security following me around everywhere, although I really like our security and they take great care of us. I wouldn't have to worry about my hand cramping with stinging fingers from signing all of your books. But I would miss out on taking all of those selfies with you. I would love to visit with you and give you big hugs and take pictures. And I'm always sad when I have to go, when often there are so many more who are still waiting. This convention is a historical event for all of us, and for the first time, I can sit at home with my feet up and watch myself. I just hope I don't get too frustrated because I forgot something important that I wanted to say. Brittany Lambert, our Vice President of Events, and her team have worked many long hours to bring us a new dimension of creativity, innovation, and education, full of surprises through the digital technology of this virtual convention. The moment we said we were canceling our convention, the wheels started turning in their heads. How grateful we are that this wonderful team saw an exciting new challenge to take our message to virtually everyone desired to join us for this new adventure. And it really is an adventure for all of us. Brittany's partner for this magnificent event is Chad Broughton and his amazing staff at the Cornerstone Studio. They are some of my favorite people who work so diligently behind the scenes, connecting computers, equipment, and organizing the immense technical needs that are necessary. Just ask yourself, how do they do it globally? How can it be simultaneously broadcast? Translations and all. None of this would be happening without them, and we are extremely grateful, not only for their skills and professionalism, but also for their friendship and dedication. We are privileged to work with Lyle Moore, and again this year, Lyle composed the most beautiful music that you just heard, music that touches the soul and uplifts the spirit. I am affected greatly and inspired by music, and I am thrilled that he shares his talent for all of us to enjoy. The words are so beautiful. In our hearts, we hear the call. What call? A call for help, of gratitude, of love. Feel the wonder of it all. Wonder? Yes, the wonder of young living and what we have become. This day, hear us say, we are one. One? One mission, one purpose, one voice. We are many ones that serve God's children to create a better words. Words are so powerful, we must speak them deliberately and with the truth of knowing what those words mean to us. Gary and I were one. We are still one. Our family is one. One heart, one mind, one message. One message? Yes, the message of freedom, the right to choose. What I define as my success might be completely different from how you define your success, which comes back again to having the right to choose, the freedom to choose. Our message in Young Living is to take our essential oils, our gift from Mother Nature, to the world. As one individual, one family, one group, one organization, one country, but always we are one company, united as one to change the world, to lift the burden of others, to be of service, and to share an opportunity with a message of hope, health, well-being, and success. Let us continue as one to speak truth and lead by example to create a healthy home for each of us and a healthy world for all of us. So welcome to this fabulous time that we are going to spend together. Even though we won't be able to see each other's faces and enjoy laughing together. But hopefully you are sharing this time with your family and members of your organizations. We all know the reason for having a virtual convention, but things are continuing to get better, and we are gradually getting back to our normal lives. But that doesn't change the suffering and grief caused by this pandemic. But something amazing has happened as we have faced so many challenges through all of this. Our Young Living family has even become stronger. Members are reaching out to each other and looking down into their organizations to contact people they have never even talked to before, to offer assistance, to help, and offer reassurance. Not only are we reaching out to each other, but we are reaching out to our communities. Look at what you, our members, are doing. Donating blessing packs of masks, hand sanitizers, and food to the needy, Zoom trainings, innovative ways to use products, ninja recipes, making soaps, bath salts, fun ideas for kids at home, buying bulk masks and sanitizers and donating to the elderly, offering free yoga classes, drive-bys to visit the elderly and shut-ins, singing, reading, showing happy signs, creating fun. Oily bingo? How novel is that? Virtual scavenger hunt? I bet it's not just the kids who are on the hunt. Groups walking together to clean up communities, picking up trash. Animal rescue and shelter donations, financial and emotional support. Zoom calls, and more Zoom calls. It is amazing and so rewarding to hear your stories and learn about how you are reaching out to lift others up and be of service to each other. We in the office have been able to watch our company in action, and so many have reached out. Members have called with suggestions as to how we could help, and employees have jumped fast to follow up. Besides what we are doing as a company, we have partnered with so many other organizations, which has been so rewarding. Look at this list. Baby essentials, personal care items, homeless shelters, health clinics. We have donated over 400 pounds of food to the Utah Food Bank. We have offered our corporate building in case they have a need for the hospital overflow. Our Philippines office raised funds for the Red Cross to benefit frontline workers. Our employees have sewn 2,000 fabric masks for our employees, and they're going to continue to make masks when needed. The D. Gary Young Living Foundation donated more than 1,700 boxes of einkorn flakes. How fun is that? And the school children love them. We donated 500 packs of our Sealings baby wipes. The donation is sent to the One Utah Child Care Programs. We donated to the Tracy Aviary because their gates are closed, and we didn't want anything to happen to those birds and maintain the facilities. Young Living donated 1% of all North American proceeds from the sale of Thieves product through the month of March to Meals on Wheels, totaling over $233,000. Young Living donated Thieves hand sanitizer to frontline workers, fire and police departments, school districts, all of those in need. We had a member call and tell us how hospital staff members were working more than 12 nonstop hours, barely time to go to the bathroom, and no time to sit down and eat. So within a couple of days, we donated healthy Young Living snacks so they could kind of eat on the run. You all know how refreshing Ninja Red and Nitro can be. And Wolfberry bars, yum. Did you ever wonder who manages the movement of all this money? Lee Bowen, our Chief Financial Officer, and his spectacular accounting team watch where every penny goes. They are so vigilant, conservative, and transparent. There are so many donations of all kinds coming from so many different places that it could be a challenge to track, but not for this department. We have an advantage with Lee because not only is he an accountant, but he holds a master's in business administration, so he understands both sides, the uses of money and the accountability. We, you, never have to worry about that part of our business, and I feel so grateful. There are so many fabulous people in leadership within our corporate walls, and we have many heroes. But my personal heroes are Jared Turner, Kelly Case, and John Wetton. Jared, with his big personality, is connecting with you everywhere through every type of communication possible. When Gary knighted Jared as president of Young Living, Jared took on the responsibility as the one to speak Gary's mind, to keep the legacy growing. He is forever thinking of you and wanting to do his very best for both you and the company. Jared and I work so well together, and we are such a great team, which I know makes Gary so happy. Kelly has been with us for 20 years. She has an immense responsibility of maneuvering Gary through the maze of his vast vision and ideas that never stopped. She is famous for sleeping with her cell phone underneath her pillow when Gary traveled, because he never took the flight for which he was scheduled. Now she helps me with the demands that seem overwhelming at times, and sometimes her calmness just makes everything happen in a peaceful and easy way. John Wetton is my unsung hero. John traveled the world with Gary and lived through many dangerous adventures with my husband. John is a problem solver and works magic with my computer, which often fails because of operator defect. John helps me with everything and puts all of these images and videos into my presentation. Sometimes John acts like a mother hen, as do many others in the office. They are so protective and haven't come to the realization that I move very quickly. And if I wanted to, I could easily ditch them. I really can take care of myself. But I love them dearly, and my life would not go as well without them. But there are others who are the real Young Living heroes, and I love to talk about them. Can you guess who? Yes, those working in our warehouse and distribution center in Utah and in the fulfillment centers around the world. They know how important these products are to you because these products are just as important to them. Our warehouse employees are working as hard as they can and as smart as they can on the shifts that go around the clock so that one shift exits the warehouse before the next shift enters. We are doing everything possible to keep our employees safe so that we can continue to deliver products to you. They know you want it now, and we all appreciate your patience as we are doing everything possible to keep the raw goods coming and the orders going out. Lauren Walker, our Chief Supply Chain Officer, who does a magnificent job coordinating all of the moving parts, had some wonderful innovation take place in her department. The supply chain for the hand sanitizer bottle was disrupted due to the pandemic. So the creative idea came up to use the massage oil bottles instead. Did anybody care? No. They were cheering when their hand sanitizer arrived in the brown massage oil bottles. Just one of the many examples of creative problem solving by our supply chain team during these unusual times. I also want to acknowledge Troy Moore, our Senior Vice President of Operations, who is responsible for the warehouse and distribution center. Troy bears the responsibility of all the logistics that make production and distribution efforts go smoothly. Each time you receive your order, send love and gratitude from your hearts to the hundreds of people working in the warehouse and shipping departments who work tirelessly to meet the demands of our growing markets. Have you ever thought about the technology that makes ordering and shipping go smoothly? Mike Green, our Chief Information Officer, and his IT team are so specialized, and I might say so complex in what they do. The technology for which they are responsible keeps us connected and communicating with each other, the very foundation of our business. How grateful we all are. Joe Walker, our Vice President of IT Operations, had the foresight to have his team start sourcing laptops for the hundreds of people who work in member services so they could safely work from home. What a massive undertaking that was, and it has been a huge success. Aubrey Bates, our Vice President of People, HR, and Shantae Schroeder, Vice President of Brand Marketing, have done a marvelous job keeping us informed with our internal town hall meetings. I actually feel more connected than ever before when we were just waving across the hall to each other. Wayne Moorhead, our Chief Marketing Officer, and his sidekick, Prasad Gakanga, our Senior Vice President of Sales, are a dynamic duo, and they and their teams have worked diligently to keep you, our members, informed. All of the young living leadership, from executives to team leads to the newest member on the shipping line, have done a monumental job keeping this massive network moving so efficiently. It is truly astounding to realize that we are growing because of our products. Products that Gary formulated some 35 years ago. Because of the terrible logging accident that Gary had when he was 24 years old that left him confined to a wheelchair, he determined that he would get out of the wheelchair or get out of life. His third attempt to end his own life was when he tried to starve himself to death. But instead, it created an unexpected physical response, which led to a medical miracle. His indomitable spirit took him out of the wheelchair and down an unknown path of discovery. Suffering with tremendous pain through 13 years of learning to walk again without assistance, and pain that plagued him for the rest of his life, he came to an absolute knowing that a nutritionally fed body and a clean environment were the keys to health and a strong immune system. Today, almost every magazine you look at is writing about building a strong immune system. What does that mean? Is it about supplements and miracle things we can buy? Maybe. But what's the first thing we should do? Change your diet. Change what you eat. Change what you put into your bodies. Drink pure water. Purify the air you breathe at home. Clean up your environment, your home, your office. Throw out the chemicals. Get rid of them. Does that sound like sustainability? Remember our 5x5 pledge? Matt French, our general counsel, who prefers to be known as the Chief Sustainability Officer, and his team have done such a fabulous job creating awareness with our employees and giving us lots of good ideas. Some employees in the warehouse are even finding ways to reuse corn dog sticks after eating all the meat. How creative is that? We're having a lot of fun with so many innovative ideas that keep showing up. How can we be sustainable if we don't take care of ourselves and our environment? Matt will say, we can't, so get busy. Gary was always talking about sustainability. We just didn't call it that. We called it healthy, clean living. Rarely did Gary give a public presentation in which he didn't speak about how we should take care of our bodies. He said that the time would come when the strength of the human body would bring us through difficult times that would come in the future. What did he know? An interesting thought. Gary spent 7 years in his research clinic in Mexico studying the human body. Nutrition was most important to him, and he knew that the over-processed, nutritionally dead food that is so prevalent today could never sustain life. When he discovered essential oils in 1985, he began conducting research. A whole new world opened for him, and he immersed himself in his discoveries. Gary thought that since essential oils are the living liquid in the plants, that surely they would enhance the benefits of dried herbs. So he started experimenting by mixing essential oils into ground herb powder. Naturally, everyone thought he was crazy, but again, he had a knowing that kept him experimenting until he got it right. Vitagreen, now called Multigreen, was the first supplement that he combined with essential oils, which is a very funny story. He told me that when he mixed the oil into the powder and then started the centrifuge, the faster it spun, the more the material stuck to the sides like glue. And when it stopped, he had to chisel it off. We laughed so many times about that. But he kept experimenting until it worked. And today, 35 years later, Multigreen and Comfortone, the first two essential oil enhanced supplements, are still two very important products that Young Living has to offer. Gary was the first in the world to put essential oils into food supplements. And today, so many different products that you can buy at the grocery store and health food stores include essential oils in the ingredient list. We all know that the possibility of these products containing pure oil is not high. They may contain a composite or simply a synthetic oil, but we know who they copied and where they began to get their ideas. As Gary continued to conduct research and saw the benefits of essential oils, he came to the conclusion that essential oils belong to the world. I am standing here because Gary came to that conclusion. Well, actually, as you are watching this, I'm probably sitting down and watching my presentation with all of you at this moment. That's really strange to think about while I'm standing here recording. Gary's conclusion that the world needed essential oils became his mission from which he never wavered, from the time he sold his research clinic to the day he died. He never formulated a product for profit, only a product for purpose, one that would benefit the human body. You can be certain that the Young Living product you use, that product was formulated for your well-being. That doesn't mean there won't be changes. One thing for certain in life is that life will always be changing and evolving. New ingredients are discovered. The needs of the body change with time. New combinations work even better. Gary was always looking for ways to improve our supplements and make them even better. Building and strengthening the body is the most important thing that we can do. And we can do this with good, nutritious food, with clean water and air, and by creating an environment of cleanliness and protection with what Mother Nature has given us. It's time for our world to wake up. Wake up to putting the best into our bodies and on our bodies, as well as in the air. I hope all of you will become label readers and eliminate highly processed foods from your diet, as they can cost you dearly when it comes to your health. Listen to what Gary said clear back in 1985.
These are some of the things that are very critical to eliminate. Fried food. Let's not eat white bread. Remember the old saying, the adage, the whiter the bread, the sooner the dead? Okay, let's eliminate that. Fried food, white bread, white flour products, sugar, refined sugars. If we can just start there, and then processed foods, fast foods, work eliminating those. And yes, you may go along for a couple of weeks and you just got to have a Twinkie. You just got to have a hot dog. We're not all perfect. We're not going to do everything right. If you fall off the train, get back on it. Why are we looking at this? Because the only way you're going to have a strong immune system will be to eliminate these things.
Is that not wonderful to hear? Gary often said that if there is a long word on the label that you can't pronounce, then it's probably not best to buy it. Many years ago, I started researching ingredients on labels, especially the labels of skincare products. I was shocked at the toxic ingredients being used. Perhaps there weren't as many choices 10, 15 years ago, but there are choices today, and information is readily available on the internet to help you make good decisions. Don't believe everything you read. Ask questions. Find out for yourself. When Gary and I were shopping in the health food store, we showed our boys how to read labels and then talked about what was good and bad. Now, when Joseph and I go shopping, he gets after me if I don't read the label. Joseph is very careful and has a lot to say about what we eat. He wants to be like his father and is a very dedicated young man. He has a passion for working with the Young Living Foundation as a junior ambassador and helping others, and loves working with the team. Joseph, Come join me and tell everyone what you think is important when making decisions about what food to eat.
Hello, everyone. Mom's right. Half the time she doesn't read the label because she doesn't have her glasses on with the small print. And so she usually asks me to read it for her. But most of the time, she knows what she's going to buy, and it's mostly a lot of fresh vegetables.
That's right. So what's important to you, Joseph?
I watch how people eat and see kids stay home from school or miss out on a soccer game because they didn't feel well. My dad was always talking about how we should eat. He was so against sugar and soda pop and food made from wheat, like white bread. That's why he started making tasty Young Living snacks and drinks. Chocolate wolfberry bars are my favorite, and I love Zing, and it's a great energy drink to mix with the Ningxia Red. Sometimes I even put a little nitro in it for a little more kick. I am so glad my dad learned about einkorn and started planting it. He was so happy when it was growing in Tabiona. I was there with him when the einkorn grew so tall. Mom and I would disappear when we walked between the rows, but now I'm sure only Mom would disappear. Einkorn flakes are my evening snack. Well, actually, they're my anytime snack with a little raw goat milk and some Yukon. Do you know about Yukon? It's a Young Living product that my dad discovered in Peru. Yukon is a brown, syrupy liquid that is pressed from the Yukon root bulb that kind of looks like a turnip. It gives everything a bit of a chocolate look, but it doesn't taste like chocolate. It's hard to describe, but it's full of nutrients and I really like it. You ought to try it. Ever since I can remember, I wanted to help other kids. I started school in Ecuador when we lived on the farm. I saw a lot of kids who didn't have very much. Jacob and I gave our toys away to them, and Mom gave her clothes away. When we started getting ready to fly to Ecuador, I went with my mom to the thrift stores where she bought all of their baseball and soccer shoes and any other sports equipment they had. One time, we packed almost 100 pairs of shoes, which turned out to be exactly the number we needed. And every player got a pair of shoes. All the kids were so happy. It seemed like the kids were always at our house, and so we were feeding them and sharing what we had. I lived in a nice house with a bathroom, and yet so many of the kids lived in houses with dirt floors and had to go outside somewhere to go to the bathroom. All the time, I was thinking about how I could help them. When Dad built the school, that was the beginning of the foundation. Things began to change, not only for the kids, but for the whole community. Young Living members started to come down and help. And then the student sponsorship program involved the foundation even more. My dad always said that when you are blessed financially, you have a responsibility to help those in need. Dad was the best example because he always looked for a way to help make things better wherever he went. I love what our foundation does around the world, and I know it's possible because of our members give so much. Last year, I went with my mom and Kelly to Uganda. I saw a lot of sadness everywhere, but I also saw how Young Living is helping, and it made me feel so happy. I had fun playing soccer with the kids and serving lunch to them. That was a different feeling because usually Mom is serving me. It was awful to watch the kids have those jitterbugs dug out of their feet, but it was great to see the relief in their faces when it was over, and watch their expressions as they were given new shoes for the first time to wear. As I washed their feet, I kept thinking how lucky I was to be there and to really see what our foundation is doing for them. I became friends with Ben Cooley, the director of Hope for Justice. He impressed me so much with his dedication to rescue people, mostly girls trapped in human trafficking. I don't understand that kind of evil, but I sure understand my desire to be part of the fight. When we came home, I wanted to tell everyone about our foundation. I wanted the world to know what a great man my father was and how he especially loved the children. Mom keeps telling me that it's only jealous people who say bad things and that I shouldn't read the negative stuff on the internet. It just makes me all the more determined to tell the story of my dad and our foundation. When I met Jackie Skinner, our new foundation director, I could feel her love what we were doing, and she was still learning about Young Living. We had some great conversations, and I was so excited when she asked me if I would like to be a junior ambassador. I didn't know what that meant exactly, but I knew that I would be with really good people who could teach me a lot. Mom, I think we should bring Jackie out here.
I think that's a great idea.
And I know she has a wonderful surprise for all of us, too.
Well, you go get her. I'll tell everyone how we first met Jackie. Greg Larson, our foundation director at that time, attended a fundraising event for a nonprofit organization led by Jackie, and he was so inspired by her big vision. He absolutely knew Jackie was meant for us, so he invited her to come and see what Young Living was all about. The day we met Jackie, we fell in love with her, and 2 months later, she became our new foundation executive director. Jackie has spent the last 15 years of her life finding ways to impact the lives of others throughout the world. She has lived internationally in disadvantaged communities, worked for the U.S. government in foreign disaster assistance, and worked with various nonprofits around the globe. For the last 10 years, she has been developing a global girls' leadership development platform that she co-founded. I'm sure it was a sad moment to leave all that she had built there with so many friends. But she said they were in good hands, which means she had trained her team well. And I'm sure they will always be close to her heart. But the Young Living Foundation, what an exciting challenge! I don't know if she realized then the immense scope of our foundation, but she quickly found herself flying all over the world, visiting our partners, working with members, and getting acquainted with our students at the Academy. So let's welcome our new Executive Director of the Young Living Foundation, Jacqueline Skinner.
I am thrilled to be part of this convention. It's my first convention and certainly a new and unusual experience, but I'm excited to be able to share my passion with the members all over the world.
Yes, and I'm sure our members are looking forward to hearing your stories and getting to know you better.
And share your surprise.
Joseph, I told you not to share that surprise.
Sorry, I just get excited.
Mary, you and Gary have impacted countless lives throughout the world. I am humbled to carry the vision of the foundation forward and to find those around the world who need our help the most. The foundation's theme for this year is Be One for Someone. Gary was the ultimate example of being one for someone. He spent much of his life focused on bringing essential oils to every home, and through this has given millions around the world the opportunity to run their businesses, sharing the highest quality essential oils on the planet and using their abundance to further our foundation and those in need around the globe. Gary was one for every one of us. While building the Young Living Farm in Chongon, Ecuador, Gary would drive past a dilapidated cinder block building where few children gathered for school for a few hours almost every day of the week. He wanted to make their lives better and started to envision a future for these students full of possibilities and opportunities that evolved into the building of the Young Living Academy. The Academy opened to 47 children, and today, 10 years later, 350 students attend the Academy that is supported by Young Living members through the Sponsor a Student program. This is just one example of how you can be one for someone. From this beginning and through the generosity of our members, the Young Living Foundation has impacted the lives of thousands of children around the world. The foundation was set up so that members worldwide can be one for someone.
So, when are you going to share the surprise?
All right, Joseph, I'm ready to make our big announcement. For the first time ever, the foundation is extremely excited to announce
our first ever foundation blend.
You all heard it. Our first ever foundation blend, One Heart. Enjoy this video highlighting its creation.
My name is Rex Kidman. I've been with Young Living for 26 years. I stood next to Gary Young while he did his formulation mastery of the blend in the lab and assisted him. And after his passing, I was given the opportunity to help in the formulation of the blend in a direct way. The foundation said that they wanted to do an oil that would honor the work that Gary had done through the foundation, and if it wasn't for Gary and for his love to help people and give them a better life, foundation wouldn't exist.
Hola, soy Anita Perlaza, vivo en Guayaquil, Ecuador. Soy egresada de Young Living Academy en la promoción 2017. Cuando me dijeron que mi diseño estaba escogido para ir en las etiquetas del aceite One Heart, y de verdad me emocioné bastante porque cuando estaba en sexto en Young Living Academy tenía una clase de computación con mi hija Belén y estaba dibujando un helado en Paint. Entonces ella me dijo, serías buena diseñadora, está bonito, y yo comencé a investigarlo, que tenía, y a mí me gustaba bastante dibujar. Entonces, entrado a Young Living, quizás no lo hubiese descubierto.
This is a blend that encompasses many people. It encompasses Gary and Mary and their family. It encompasses the employees at Young Living. It encompasses the employees at the Ecuador farm. And the oils in the blend allow you to feel love in your heart.
En mi diseño trato de representar la unión de varias culturas. En el momento que puse las manos sobre las flores, empecé a darle otro concepto al diseño que tenía. Entonces ya no solamente era un living orgánico, sino que ahora un living es una cosa que une muchos países, muchas personas, no importa de dónde vengan, cómo se vean.
Gary always said that he never created a blend that didn't have purpose. So the purpose of this blend is not only one heart, but it's also to bless each of your lives. And as you use it, as you smell it, as you diffuse it, it allows you to go forward.
Estoy realmente agradecida por poder participar en la creación de esta fusión de aceites One Heart, y realmente tengo esperanzas en que pueda ayudar a mucha gente alrededor del mundo, muchas familias.
People come together as one heart, and to have a blend that shares that love, that commitment, all of that was a part of Gary's vision for the foundation.
We are so excited for you to experience this new blend. You can purchase this blend by itself or in a bundle with an exclusive One Heart roll-on necklace, beautifully designed with quartz, crystal, and a moonstone. The design stamped into the necklace matches Anita's beautiful label design. Both the blend and the bundle will be available for purchase after this session. And a percentage of the sales for both the oil and necklace bundle will benefit the D. Gary Young Young Living Foundation. We challenge you in this upcoming year to find multiple ways to be one for someone in your community or across the globe. That can start today by texting B1 to 91011 or visiting younglivingfoundation.org/B1. Convention is our biggest fundraiser of the year, where we have an opportunity to come together to make a huge global impact. We look forward to sharing more ways that you can get involved with the foundation throughout the week. Oh, and we have one more announcement.
You can Purchase this t-shirt and additional foundation merchandise on the Young Living Gear website. Proceeds from each purchase go to the foundation.
Looking good, Joseph. If you are not already following the Foundation's Instagram account and Facebook page, they're listed below. We will be doing some fun giveaways, including the new One Heart blend and Foundation swag items. We look forward to sharing with you tomorrow some more exciting announcements and updates on the D. Gary Young Living Foundation.
I'd like to share our new blend with my mom. I'm going to get her.
Great idea. I absolutely love that this blend not only benefits the user, but will also greatly benefit someone around the world that is in deep need.
Here, Mom.
Oh, you don't? You didn't grow up here?
Oh, that's amazing. It gives me such a feeling of wholeness, perhaps completion, like getting in touch with myself. It really touches the soul. One feeling, one knowing, one heart. I know everyone is going to love it. Oh, and the necklace. Oh my goodness. I've heard about this. It's made with quartz crystal, moonstone. It's so unique. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, Mom. Our members can get the oil alone or in a bundle with that necklace. It's really pretty. Want to know what I feel when I smell the oil? Of course. It gives me a feeling of connecting to my dad.
Oh.
He always said we need to know who we are and connect with our inner self. It makes me feel warm inside and happy with a feeling of wanting to do more in my life. One heart, one connection, like our Young Living family. I can't wait to share it with my friends. What a great gift and a perfect way to spread the purpose of our foundation.
Joseph, you've got it. Jackie, thank you so much. This new blend is so beautiful. I know everyone will want it and that it will become a favorite. And I love the t-shirt. It's a fun way to let people know who we are.
It'll be great to see everybody wearing them. I miss Dad so much, but I often feel his presence when I think about all that he did for me and our Young Living family. I'm really looking forward to being part of the foundation, but even more, the challenge of learning how to say things the right way and be able to express my feelings in a teenager's professional way. I love you all, our members, our Young Living staff who helped me and my family so much. I'm grateful for all you do for the support of the foundation. I'd love to encourage my teenage friends to also rally their support. Even $1 can make a difference when a lot of $1 are given. Let's go, Jackie. We've got lots of work to do. Let's make it happen. I'll see you on Instagram.
Not just on Instagram, but through the maze of communication in our world today. Yes, Joseph, we have lots to do in spreading the word about the foundation and making sure we impact even more lives in the upcoming year.
Jackie, thank you so much. Isn't she amazing? And such a big heart. And Joseph, he's really growing up. Yes, we had a fabulous time together in Uganda, and I look forward to traveling again and being able to see more of what our foundation is doing in other parts of the world. And I'm sure you'll have the opportunity to meet Jackie and feel her spirit. She brings so much to Young Living and our foundation. We are blessed to have her. I think everybody knows that sales for our entire line of Thief's products are off the charts. Gary loved the world of science, but often had a gut knowing about things. With what he had seen in the blood work under the microscope, he was driven to search out every thread of historical information he heard about as he traveled the world looking for more knowledge and answers regarding essential oils. He became fascinated with the legend of the robbers during the plague of the 14th century who robbed the dead and the dying and weren't affected. So from what information he could find in the library archives and other historical writings, he said, let's give it a try and create something new. In 1990, Gary formulated the Thieves blend from his research and then tested it at Weber State University, and the research findings were published. He spent many hours in the lab with Sue Chow, our biochemist, and they were so excited about what they discovered. That was such an historical beginning for him that it led him into the study of chemistry of the oils and learning how to combine certain oils because of their compounds to achieve maximum benefit. In 1996, this desire took Gary to Anadolu University in Eskişehir, Turkey, to study with Professor Dr. Hans Bashir, who was teaching a course on gas chromatography and essential oil analysis. Gary completed 120 hours of intense study and was excited to return home and begin the development of our own laboratory. Gary did this because he wanted to give you, all of us, the very best. And in Young Living, we have the most beautiful, efficacious essential oil blends in the world. It is fascinating to hear your stories and learn how important these blends are to you and your families. But even prior to going to Turkey, in 1992, Gary's partner in France, Jean-Noël Landel, introduced Gary to Hervé Casabianca, one of the top analytical chemists in the world for essential oils. Gary and Hervé developed a wonderful friendship, and Dr. Casabianca gained such great respect for Gary and what he was doing that he came to Utah in 1996 to calibrate our first GC instrument and offer further training. Perhaps some of you may have been in the audience when Dr. Casabianca spoke at our convention in 2000 at the Salt Palace. Dr. Casabianca later first flew to Ecuador to set up our laboratory at the farm and continue with training. Gary is sitting in front of the GC instrument with his big black beard, and Dr. Casabianca is sitting behind him. The young, handsome, curly-headed guy is Chris Packer. Chris's story is amazing. Gary knew Chris throughout his growing up years, and since Chris lived in Idaho, Gary asked him if he would like to work at the St. Mary's farm. So he began in the winter of 2007. About 6 months later, Gary called from Ecuador to see if Chris would like to move to Ecuador and work with him on the farm. Chris told me that this was his only response. That sounds interesting. Then Gary said, "Can you fly down tomorrow?" And 3 days later, Chris was there for a new adventure. He quickly found out what it was like to live in a foreign country, not speaking the language, and work with the local people who don't speak one word of English. He decided to learn Spanish and immersed himself in the culture. Chris had a fabulous opportunity of learning about farming and distilling from Gary. Gary was his mentor, which was a rare opportunity that few have had. A wonderful time of learning for Chris. Gary took Chris into the laboratory to see if Chris had any interest with essential oil analysis. Chris became fascinated with testing the oils and seemed to have an affinity for the instruments. He was also very fortunate to be there when Dr. Casabianca came to help set up the GC lab. When Gary and I returned home in December of 2010, Chris took the position of farm manager and stayed in Ecuador until 2012, a total of 5 years, after which he returned home to go back to school. But he and Gary stayed in contact. One day, Gary and I were walking, and Gary said, "Mary, I'm going to offer Chris a position with Young Living, as senior scientist and farm laboratory manager to oversee the laboratories on the farms worldwide. Chris has a real interest, and we need someone to take that responsibility. So early in 2017, Chris started in his new responsibility. Not only did he love the testing and the analytical side of the operation, but he had a great advantage because he also understood the farming and distilling operation for producing oils. Members often ask me if anyone is doing what Gary did, looking for new plants to produce new oils. Chris Packer is doing that for Young Living. He is following in Gary's footsteps, looking for new plants that can produce new oils for us. He is happy exploring the Amazon jungle and is always on the lookout for opportunities in other areas of the world to make new discoveries. And I might say there are new oils on the horizon. Chris already has a list of 35 plant oils that he has discovered that are not on the market anywhere in the world, and 8 of them have no publication whatsoever. That brings more possibilities that will surely prove very exciting for us. Chris is currently the director of Global Farm Laboratories and spends a good deal of time at each of our farms, checking the lab equipment, testing oils during harvest time, and training local employees on the instruments. He is also traveling and exploring many areas of the world looking for new plants. And now he is part of the sourcing team, which is extremely valuable because of his knowledge of farming and distilling. Chris has continued with his education with Dr. Casabianca in France and takes advantage whenever the opportunity presents itself to learn more. He has a laboratory in the distillery in Mona, and if you're lucky, he might be there to answer your questions when you're taking a tour. Get to know Chris, because he brings so much to Young Living. I asked Tamara, his mother, our global director of Raindrop Training and Education, if she thought it would be all right to share some exciting news about Chris. She just smiled and nodded yes. Chris is soon to marry a young lady from Ecuador who has a degree in law and biology and worked as an environmental attorney in Ecuador. How nice is that? They have known each other for a long time, and luckily for Chris, Nadia loves exploring the jungle as well. And when you visit the farm in Ecuador, you can see the orchid garden they have developed with many rare and beautiful species of orchids. How blessed are we to have these two wonderful people come together and to enjoy the benefits of what they're doing, their love of Young Living and their love of the oils and the Amazon jungle, just like Gary. Thank you, Chris and Nadia. During this time in our world, it's been fascinating to ask yourself the question, how important is the Thieves Blend to us today? It is interesting to see how out of that single blend, we have an arsenal of Thieves products, which are in great demand all over the world. Along with the Thieves Oil Blend, there are many other oils to support the body, like Raven, Exodus 2, The Gift, Purification, and many more, so don't limit yourselves. I have something rather unusual to share with you. A surprise. Something that maybe you will find far-fetched, unbelievable, yet possible, all of which are amazing to me. You may laugh as I did when I heard Gary speak, and you may also stand in awe as I do today. In January of 1997, Gary was giving a presentation in San Diego when a gentleman in the audience asked a couple of thought-provoking questions. Gary was not the least concerned, which you can hear in his voice as he responded, when John Wetton and I were excited as we found the actual audio tape.
I had a fellow the other day ask me, he says, Gary, what happens if, something happens to you? What's going to happen to Young Living? I said, don't worry about it. Mary can handle it all. Piece of cake. It will just go on without me, and it will be fantastic, and that's what I want. He said, well, what about formulas? And I said, well, they'll make some formulas. No problem. Mary will dream, and they'll come to her. I'll give them to her in her dreams. Don't worry about it. Piece of cake. It's all covered.
I remember this very well, and I remember how I laughed. Every time Gary said I could run Young Living, I would almost get mad because I couldn't bear the thought of such a thing. But the formulas, that was utterly ridiculous. As many of you know, Gary had visions and a knowing that reached beyond what many of us are able to easily understand. While he was in our world, he formulated many amazing products, and his passion for formulation was rooted in his astounding experiences and wisdom with essential oils from his precious plant kingdom. The very plants he so dearly loved to grow during his time on this earth enhance and support our lives in ways that we are still discovering. Some physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual blessings come to us from these plants and essential oils they produce, of which Young Living is the steward in our world. Gary definitely had more insight and was more aware, more in tune, more developed, and I think lived with a higher frequency than most of us. What does that mean? I guess it depends on what you understand about frequency. So I'll simply leave that up to you for your interpretation. Gary was often deep in thought and seemed removed from the confusion and noise of this world. He was the happiest in the mountains, in God's living room, as he called it. He would often saddle his horse and ride up the mountain behind our house, where the communication was clear. At least that's what he said to me. When he came back a few hours later, he was refreshed, filled with new ideas, and excited to go forward. Gary's ability to create powerful blends never ceased to amaze all of us. He often talked with me and few others who were close to him that he had many new formulas that he wanted to share. Gary had his own little lab in our studio on the top floor of our house, where he had all kinds of oils that he would mix and test. I have many little bottles with his handwritten ingredients on them. They were rarely named, but he had written a couple of key words on them indicating his intention. There were a few that he said he would like to introduce to Young Living when it was the right time. I often looked through them with curiosity, wondering what ones, our members, you would like to have. Gary loved the earth, and he knew from experience and in his soul that if the plants were to go, then we would go. He understood how important the plants were in their life-giving purpose for all living things. He often walked the fields and prayed over his crops. He knew that a higher power brought life to this earth and that he could ask for help whenever he felt the need. So many times I walked with him through the fields, and I could tell that even though we were together, He was silently connecting to that higher power. Many members close to Gary shared that same kind of experience with him. Gary and I were constantly together in so many different situations, discussing many different things, and rarely did we disagree on anything. He even asked me about equipment and what I thought about his ideas for new designs and redesigning equipment we already had to fit different needs of the farm. I went to many equipment auctions, and he'd have me listen to the sound of the motor. If I told him I didn't like the sound, he didn't bid on it. He always wanted my opinion. At the entrance to the St. Mary's farm sits a little farm-all tractor, my tractor, that I told Gary to buy because the motor sounded great. I think we paid something like $300 for it. It was perfect. So when you visit St. Mary's, you might find yourself laughing a little bit because you now know the story. We thought almost exactly alike about business, policies, products, members, changes and additions to Young Living. That was one of the hardest things for me to deal with after Gary passed. Many people kept telling me he was here and he was trying to communicate with me. Then someone said he couldn't get through because I was crying so much. That opened my mind to perhaps a different way of thinking. I began to ask more questions and read of others' experiences and gradually came to the realization that I was stopping my own progress. A very close friend of mine said to me a few months ago, "Mary, the spirit never dies." Those words still keep ringing in my ears. We constantly hear talk about strengthening ourselves emotionally and increasing our spiritual connection. Connection to what? Our inner self? A higher power? Someone not with us? Another world? Someone beyond the veil? What does all that mean? I think it means to be able to connect to that greater power for inspiration and direction in our lives. I remember Gary's story about Mr. Henri Viau, who was considered the father of distillation in France about 40 years ago. Gary had waited 5 years for an interview, hoping that he might be able to study with this great man. Jean-Noël invited Mr. Viau for dinner, and he and Jean-Noël talked French all evening, while Gary, sitting next to this man in hopes of having a conversation, spent the entire evening with Jean-Noël's wife, Jane. Just before leaving, Mr. Viau turned to Gary and in perfect English asked, "So, Mr. Young, what do you think of essential oils?" Gary told me that he was so surprised he didn't have time to think of a response, and without hesitation he just blurted out, "I believe essential oils are the closest, most tangible substance to God on earth." Mr. Viau shook his finger in Gary's face and spoke as if talking to a very big audience. "You are right, and any man who adulterates them should be treated like a criminal." Then he stood up, thanked Jane for dinner, and left. That was the beginning of many visits, many days and weeks that Gary spent with Mr. Viau on his mountain, learning the art of distillation. If the plants contain the living essence of the Creator, and we are using that pure, unadulterated essence, how might that help us in our search for greater enlightenment? We all walk our own path, and we all have our own experiences. I don't know how you will interpret what I say, but it is for you to come to your own understanding. I've had some amazing experiences over the past few months, and I feel Gary's presence, which seems to be getting stronger. Because he and I thought so much alike, I don't know if I am hearing his words or hearing my own words in my head. His words, my thoughts. His inspiration, my feeling. His guidance, they all blend together. Is it how I am analyzing things? Or is it how Gary is explaining things to me? It is such an unusual feeling that fills my soul with an unusual knowing. This is certainly an interesting journey for me. As I was looking at the oils while Gary spent time in our studio, the feeling came to me that this was the right time for Gary's Light, a new blend. I was fascinated with the oils that came to my mind. I was fascinated to see that so many of them have an ancient history of uses. The combination of oils has so many different constituents that support different physical and emotional needs. It is perfectly balanced and an aroma so smooth and elegant that there is no mistake that it is Gary's formula. A formula to bring more light, for greater understanding, awareness of truth and discernment as we move forward into the unknown. Surely a need that we all have at this time on our planet. You will feel something very special with this blend, especially now, 2 years after Gary's passing. It may bring memories. It may bring hope. It may give you courage, or even make you feel grounded and protected. Exactly what you will feel, I don't know. But I do believe you will be uplifted and your heart will be filled with joy and peace. Look at the wonderful oils in this blend. Hyssop, Boswellia sacra, our sacred frankincense. Myrrh, cistus, Dorado azul, Eucalyptus radiata, lemongrass, petitgrain, cinnamon. This blend is very much a companion to these in purification. The arsenal of oils is something that Gary has had for a long time. Some of these oils have a historical background that relate to some of our needs today, while others have different compounds that target other specific needs. I was quite amazed as some of the oils took me back to ancient times, especially the story of hyssop with Moses and the Israelites as they anticipated the avenging angel that was to come upon Pharaoh and the Egyptians. You might find your own research very fascinating and revealing. Myrrh has centuries of stories and how it was used, especially on the ancient camel caravan trails, as Gary's described in his book, The One Gift. Besides being a very engaging adventure, it is also quite an educational read. Myrrh is very smooth on the skin, and so I started putting it on my face at night. That very same week, when I started to get ready for bed, Gary said, "Mary, please don't wear myrrh at night." "Why?" "Would you like smelling dirty socks all night?" "Well, I love the smell of myrrh, vetiver, valerian, and all the musty smelling oils." But Gary preferred that I not use them at night, so I kind of got away from using myrrh. However, Gary had a lot of fun telling his audiences that myrrh was great as a natural product for birth control. He would look at me and then roar with laughter with everybody else. Regardless, myrrh is fabulous on the skin, besides all of its other great benefits. Cistus is also a plant with much history that has both physical and emotional application. These oils are a concentration of history that you will have to explore. Including Dorado Azul in this blend was a bit of a surprise to me, but I shouldn't have been surprised because this is such a wonderful oil. However, it is relatively new to our oil inventory, and many members have yet to discover its benefits. One day in the early development of the Ecuador farm, Gary and I were walking down the dirt road that he had just cut through the brush. He was always running his hand through the branches and twigs and smelling the flowers and the leaves. Dorado Azul was basically a weed that grew everywhere and lined the edge of the ditch banks. As Gary smelled it, he became very excited and said he wanted to distill this weed. We cut enough to fill a bag and took it back to the little distillery next to the house where we were living. That bag of plant material produced just a few drops of oil, barely enough to be tested, which Gary quickly sent off to Utah to be analyzed. When the report came back, he announced that this was going to be a new oil for Young Living, but we would have to cultivate it on the farm. So we all went to work. The really great thing about this plant is that it thrives in the monsoon rains while almost everything else seems to drown, making it a good monsoon crop, the only monsoon crop. It is a very powerful oil, and when you smell it, you could feel a grounded strength coming up from the earth that travels through your body and seems to dance in your head. Now, that's an interesting description. It might be a good oil to wear while you're dancing. You'll have to test it for yourselves. I think we all know stories of eucalyptus radiata, lemongrass, and cinnamon, and the many benefits they have. Now, I do have my own story, so I think I might tell it. In 1992, I was in the Salt Palace attending a preparedness expo with 10,000 other people scrambling to hear the news of the times. One of the speakers at the end of his talk said, "Make sure you check out these oils." "Thank you very much," and walked off the stage. How odd. Oils? What are oils? What was he talking about? I found the oil booth and talked to the young boy behind the table and asked him a couple of questions about oils relating to eyes. He pointed away from the table and said, "Dr. Young is standing there in the aisle. Why don't you ask him?" I walked over and talked to Gary for about a minute or two because he had lost his voice after talking nonstop for 3 days. I bought some oils and took them home and decided to see what they could do for me. I was starting to get bags under my eyes, and nobody wants bags under their eyes, so I was curious. I first put a couple of drops of lavender in my hand, then lemongrass, and then eucalyptus, and gently mixed them together and layered them around my eyes. After the first time, I decided to do it at night because the oils had such a strong aroma. They made my eyes water, and in bed with my eyes closed, it didn't matter. After the third or fourth day, the skin started to peel under my eyes. Long story short, no one told me to dilute the oils. I only needed a little tiny bit. It was a fast, graphic lesson, but the bags were gone under my eyes, so I was happy about that. So use your common sense and dilute the oils as you experiment with them, and learn which ones need to be diluted and which ones don't. A good sponsor would have told me that, but I had to learn the hard way. Today, that is all water under the bridge, and I'm just glad that it didn't stop me on my new path of discovery. I think we understand most of these oils and their uses, but the oil of petitgrain was a mystery to me. Why would this oil be in the formula? Gary often used this oil, but I was unfamiliar with it, and I didn't know much about it. I looked in the reference guide, but didn't find anything that caught my attention. So then I looked in the French medical guide and was so surprised to read that this oil supports pulmonary function, which could aid in the uptake of oxygen. Wow, that was exciting. A lot like Breathe Again, and yet more specific in combination with the other oils. Perhaps the newer oils are there to enhance the action of the other oils. It's like bringing knowledge of the ancient world and blending it with the science of today. The compounds in Gary's light open the mind to greater awareness and envelop us in a field of security and protection. As you do your own research, I think you will be amazed at the timeless benefits of these oils. The aroma is exquisite and so smooth, just like the other beautiful blends that we have. Our eldest son, Jacob, is gifted in many ways and wants to follow in Dad's footsteps. He loves the oils and has a natural affinity for them, like his father. Jacob is currently working in our R&D lab, learning about the oils and how to blend them, as well as how to use the instruments for testing. Jacob is being mentored by the amazing team of scientists that are a part of the D. Gary Young Research Institute, headed by Dr. Mike Book. Jacob has had a lot of fun learning to blend oils, as well as operate the analytical instruments. You need to know that Dr. Book was the one who secured the OTC classification for Thieves hand sanitizer so that all of you could make germ-killing claims. How fabulous for all of us. Make sure you send Dr. Mike and his team a lot of happy wishes. In 2013, we celebrated the Young Living 20-year anniversary by taking a group of members to France. While on the bus, our members started playing a game called Name That Oil. Singles and blends were passed around to see who could identify them. Jacob identified every bottle passed to him. We all marveled, and Dad just smiled. I would like Jacob to come and share his feelings with you and what it was like being part of formulating Dad's new blend. Jacob? Come. They're excited to hear from you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. I know many of you are always asking what I am up to and how I am involved in Young Living. Well, let me tell you. As many of you know, I worked in the call center for a good while to get a better understanding about how Young Living works. I was honored to work alongside so many bright and talented people who taught me a lot and helped me anytime I asked. Learning about commissions, ranks, OGB, PGB, PB, ER orders, and more gave me a lot of understanding about Young Living, especially from the member side. After I left the call center, I decided it was time to learn more, something new. So back in December, I started working in our R&D lab in our new building, Global Headquarters. This is a photo that Mike Book took for me when I created my first oil blend. I've learned so much about the oils, from chemistry to composition to gaining a better feeling for just how powerful they really are. It has been truly wonderful to work alongside such a great team of scientists. Learning how to operate our GC instruments to test the oils has been really exciting and fun as well. Ever since I was young, I've heard my dad tell stories about the mythical GC and how it used to analyze essential oils. But now, as I started my own training on how to operate this instrument, the stories that my dad told have taken on a whole new meaning. Following in my father's footsteps has been really rewarding. I still have so much to learn about the GC and the other instruments in the lab, but I have to say my favorite part is being able to make new blends. I've had the great opportunity to work alongside Rex Kidman, who is the first person that my dad taught how to blend his formulas in the Riverton lab in 1994, when Young Living was incorporated 26 years ago. Rex has been teaching me what my dad taught him, and I could not be happier. It's an amazing feeling when creating a blend. I get this feeling that I just can't explain. I feel empowered, strong, and connected. I feel I can soar above the clouds and do whatever I've dreamed of doing. Maybe you have had similar feelings when you start using the oils. I also get lots of ideas and impressions that come to my mind, which I like to think are my dad giving me direction. Sometimes I feel as if he's watching over my shoulder and helping me. When Mom asked if I'd like to make up the new blend, Gary's Light, my answer was, of course, and I could hardly wait to get to the lab. The next day, I drove to the office to meet Rex in the lab. Rex has been really great to work with because he stood back and let me blend the oils because this was Dad's special formula. As I started adding the oils one by one, a powerful feeling came over me, and I felt like Dad was putting his energy into the oils through me so that I could have the same experience just like he had when he formulated a blend, so that when we use the oil, we could feel that same strong energy too. Gary's Light is an amazing new blend and has a very special meaning to our family and many others. I think this blend is best diffused into the air, but can also be applied however you like. But I'd suggest diluting it with Young Living's B6. I look forward to hearing about your experiences and what you think of Gary's Light.
Jacob, it is so heartwarming for me to hear what you are experiencing with the oils. I know you have lots of ideas and are definitely your own independent self.
Mom, you got me figured out.
Jacob, your life is about to take a big step into the future. Would you like to share your exciting news?
I think many people have seen our announcement on Facebook, so this is no secret. I'll go get Kate and bring her out so everyone can meet her.
Oh, great. That'll give me a chance to talk to our audience. Some of you may be familiar with the well-known musical South Pacific, with the beautiful song Some Enchanted Evening. Here are the words. Some enchanted evening, you may see a stranger across a crowded room, then go to her side and make her your own, or all through your life, you may dream all alone. The lyrics to Jacob's song go like this. Some enchanted school day, I saw a lovely songster across the room in concert choir, and to my longing ears I heard a joyous sound. And from that very moment, I knew what I had found.
That's pretty clever, Mom.
Caitlin is a very special person. She is as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. However, she is a tomboy in disguise. She loves to ride motorcycles, snowmobiles, and go horseback riding with Jacob. She also likes rock climbing and loves fast cars, especially when she's driving. Seeing the two of them together is so rewarding for me because they are constantly laughing. They are so happy together, and that brings joy to everyone around them. Joseph has been asking where his Kate is, and I had to tell him he just has to wait a few more years. Kate fits right in with us, even though she really might not yet fully understand the journey she is embarking on by joining our Young Living family.
Mom, I didn't know you were watching us so closely.
Of course.
Kate really is a dream, and I'd love for her to tell us what she thinks of our Young Living world.
Before I met Jacob, I really didn't know much about essential oils. But every time I went to his house, I felt the passion that his family had for Young Living and the essential oils. And the oils were everywhere and used for everything. It was really fascinating to learn about all of it. I quickly learned that I needed to get rid of all the toxic stuff I was using. And so Mary sent me home with shampoo, conditioner, soap, and cleaning supplies, and yes, thieves for everything, including the toothpaste. Then there were all the creams and savvy, and I just fell in love with the products. At the same time, I fell in love with Jacob. I was fortunate enough to go with Jacob to see his dad in the hospital. We played cards, and I heard some really funny jokes. He was such a special person and very accepting of me. I held Jacob's hand as his dad left this world, which was a sad moment for all of us, but I'm grateful for the short time I had to be in his presence. I think what Jacob's dad created is amazing. I love what I've seen, I love the people I have met, and I love the Young Living mission. As Mary said, I'm sure I don't know what all of it means, but I'm excited to walk this new path with Jacob and be his partner in this great new adventure.
I think you can see why I'm so lucky. Well, honey, let's give the stage back to Mom. See you all somewhere soon in the world.
Thank you. Thanks, Jacob and Kate. It's going to be fun to watch their lives unfold. This has been a time when we have had to face so many challenges. But how we deal with these challenges defines who we are. A lot of unhappiness, grief, frustration, negativity, and inconvenience has come out of this pandemic. But this is where the opportunity comes to look ahead and see what we can learn from this crisis and create a new paradigm, a new beginning. We must prepare for the future so that we don't relive anything like this again. Our Young Living family has a tremendous opportunity to lead the way, to set the example. Young Living is a beacon to the world, to bolster saddened spirits and help those in need. The oils and supplements are tools to be used to open our minds and the minds of those to whom we introduce Young Living. If you are new to essential oils, you might be asking, what are they? Not only what they are, but what they do on a physical level, but also what can they do on emotional, mental, and spiritual levels. As I said before, the oils are the living essence of the plant kingdom, the essence that the Creator put into these plants. When we use pure oils, we are connecting with that essence, which increases our frequency and brings more awareness and more understanding of life. Many of you have often made that comment. On one of Gary's trips to France in 1991, Jean-Noel introduced Gary to Philip Malibu, who was writing and teaching about essential oils. Philip had a laboratory and was conducting research on both the physical and emotional aspects of essential oils. Gary was immediately drawn to Philip's philosophy, who believed that the oils carried a spiritual essence that influenced how an individual responded to the oils. He believed that those who were sensitive to the oil frequencies would feel that deep spiritual connection. Again, a whole new world opened for Gary, a new way of thinking. He wanted to tell everyone about his discoveries. But when he talked about a spiritual connection with the oils, most people thought the idea was ridiculous, and we received a lot of criticism. Think for a moment. Why frankincense is referred to as the holy anointing oil, written about in ancient scriptures? Why was it used for spiritual rituals and for those in need of emotional and spiritual support? These ideas seem foreign to most people, so we didn't say much more. There is so much we didn't know about these ancient practices, but Gary's curiosity kept him researching. Because of the criticism we received, Gary and I decided we would not talk about that aspect of the oils. We would just let our members figure that out for themselves as they used the oils and had their own experiences. The more Gary studied the emotional aspects of the oils, the more he felt that he needed to start teaching what he knew would free so many from unknown emotional bondage. He organized his own emotional clearing seminars with that knowing of purpose that he always had. I have to admit that this thing called emotional clearing was a bit out of my comfort zone. But I believed in Gary and his uncanny knowing about the human body and the emotions we deal with in our daily lives. I was there by Gary's side, and I was amazed. I witnessed many fabulous, unusual things, and some of you watching today were there and became part of that whole new way of thinking about the oils. As we have grown, more and more people have made discoveries and come to an understanding that there is spiritual and emotional strength gained through using the oils.
I believe that.
What you believe and how you use the oils is your own personal experience that no one can take from you. Emotions have become a greater topic of discussion in the last few years, and thousands of people feel uncertain, confused, or lost in the maze of life and are asking for help and an understanding that they can't seem to find. Many are asking questions about family, relationships, their purpose in life, and why things don't seem to go the way they want, but often don't like the answers they get. We spend so much time looking outside of ourselves for answers, blaming others, and not being responsible for our own actions. Now is the perfect time to really pay attention and learn more about what the oils are. They are not one-dimensional. They are not just a means of earning money. They are so much more than that. They are nature's living energy that many call the essence of God, which will change people in ways they never expected. As you use the oils with the intention of connecting with your inner self and finding answers for your own understanding, both physically and emotionally, a new awareness may come to your mind, solving challenges and moving forward with hope and reassurance. We are moving into a new awakening, a time to get in touch with ourselves, find out what is really important, find out what is our purpose. If oils do nothing more than help us get in touch with ourselves by increasing our awareness, then we have been greatly benefited. If we change our diets and eat nutrient-dense food, clean our bodies and clean our homes and our environment by getting rid of the chemicals and the toxins that interfere with how we live and our well-being, I know that we will better be able to understand and connect with our inner child. Does that give you an idea why Gary formulated the blend Inner Child? Yes, to connect with our inner being, to connect with or rediscover who we are. It has been said that the energy you put out is the energy that comes back to you. If you think you can't, what you think will come back. The more people tell you that it's not possible, that it can't be done, the more you should be determined to prove them wrong. What is the point of living with a negative attitude? Poor me. As kids, we used to say, nobody likes me, I'm going to go eat worms. And then we would all laugh hysterically. Do you like being around someone who is always finding fault? Always criticizing, always looking on the it can't be done side? If someone said to Gary, it can't be done, that just made him move faster to make it happen. Gary did not allow the word can't to be spoken in our home, and everyone in the office also knew not to use that word when speaking to Gary. Gary always said, don't come to me with a problem unless you come with a solution. There is an answer and a solution for every problem, and that attitude is what made us who we are today. Just think, we are over 6 million strong. If together we put out positive energy, envisioning a positive outcome, how powerful are we in manifesting what we desire? In December 1995, Gary made a very powerful statement. As the audio clip plays, I hope you will be able to hear the power and knowing in his voice.
My greatest desire when I started Young Living and the vision I had 6 years ago was that Young Living would be a company that would be an example to the world, and that each one of you would be that example. Our world needs heroes. Our world needs examples to follow. Not just individual examples, but business examples, company examples. That's what I wish for Young Living, that we will stand humble and proud and be an example to the world of how it really can be. And I know each one of you can do it. And that's my blessing to you, the end of 95.
Today, Gary would say, I want my Young Living family to be strong and healthy and lead the way into this new dimension of our lives as we recover and rebuild from such misery. Gary always said, know who you are. This is a critical time in our world, a time to look inside yourself and know that you are an important part of this great mission. The healthier you are, the stronger your physical and emotional well-being will become. That gives you the strength to reach for the stars and achieve your highest potential. One of Gary's favorite blends that he wore every day. Carry yourselves with dignity and humility and a knowing that you are doing your very best. Young Living was founded on godly principles and continues to operate on those same principles today. I believe that Gary is with us, watching over us, putting thoughts and ideas into our heads to help us be positive and make life better. I feel his presence every day, and believe me, his energy is very strong, leading us forward. Sometimes my fingers tingle with an energy that seems to have more strength as I speak our truth and a knowing that this company is directed and guided by a higher power. I feel the power of oneness, as if I can feel your energy from wherever you are. I feel that Gary's message to each one of us today is to open our hearts, uplift one another, and trust in those godly principles that let our lives be guided by the light of love and hope that burns within each of our souls. Let us have gratitude for our knowledge and for the opportunity we have to serve, and know that our Young Living family is a powerful force for good in the world, the realization of Gary's vision for all of us. We love you.